Hello everyone, welcome back to the White One Auto YouTube channel. And today we're going to do one of my most favorite things to do, a no start. So this is a 2010 Chevy Traverse. It was towed in. I was told it's been sitting about a year or so. They put a starter on it. Then it ran for 2 weeks and then it cut off. And then they took it to another place. They said it needed electrical. Put it on the magical diagnostic machine, I'm sorry, and that should have fixed it, but they couldn't find the machine. So, as I always say, a machine does not diagnose cars, technicians diagnose cars. A machine, a scanner, which people typically refer to when they say a machine, just reads codes and lets you know what information the car is seeing in, and when it goes out of its spec for that, it then sets a code. So, because we know this thing's been sitting up, the first thing we're gonna do is check our oil level here. So our battery came back good. We put it on a slow charge, so the battery is probably okay. So we check our oil level. It doesn't seem too old, which is kind of, whenever you get a car in that says it's been sitting for a long time, I'm always skeptical when the oil isn't that dirty. Because just in my experience, people who will let a car sit for a long time typically don't change the oil until it's too late. So this is what the oil condition looks like. So it's a 2010, so we'll just use the Solus Ultra. Let me go grab that. So we got our scanner plugged up. Let's hop in. Let's crank this over. I think it's reading a 10.2. So let's crank it over and see what we got. And she runs, but she doesn't sound happy, so I'm gonna cut it off. So she is running, but she does not sound happy. So we're gonna get this cover off. You can see we got a bunch of extra wiring going on over there. That looks like one of those used car GPSs. So let's get this cover off and investigate that noise. So we have our cover off. This is definitely one of those GPSs from a used car lot. You can look back there and see these two. Someone, I believe like the rear AC lines were probably leaking or something in the rear AC. So they've blocked that off. Yeah, so that thing is pretty loud, but I do want to take a look at the accessories and make sure nothing is rubbing in the accessories. And what I mean by the accessories, I mean like, so this car still has power steering. I mean like the power steering alternator. So as you can see, we got a lot of damage to this cross member here. So that is not good. So I'm gonna take my stethoscope and listen to see, is it coming from? So thankfully, that noise is coming from our air conditioning compressor. And as I said before, it had the lines blocked off like it had a leak. So when that, oh, look right there. This is that's the front of our clutch right there, just hanging out there. So thankfully, that noise is coming from our air conditioning compressor, not the engine. So, okay, so the customer's giving us approval to do a few repairs on this thing. One of them is gonna be that AC compressor. That's why, as you can see, we got our AC machine hooked up so we can pull whatever refrigerant gas is left in there. A quick point, some of you may know the low side fitting is way down there at the bottom near the oil filter right on top of the AC compressor. So we only recovered this amount of refrigerant, like 0.28 of a pound, and I think it's supposed to be 2 pounds. So let's get these hoses off and get the compressor out of there. Okay, so we have our wheel off. Along here are 7mm screws, as well as there are some push pins that look like that right up there. Those have to come out, and then now we can get our wheel well out. So now with our wheel well out, you're able to see what was creating all that racket. It is our compressor clutch that has came apart. So we got to get this thing out of here. It may be a tad bit more difficult because we got all this damage to the subframe. Sneak our hand up in there to get all our bolts loose, but we will make it happen. And we definitely are putting a belt on this thing too. So there are 4 bolts, like there's a nut right there. Then there's a bolt up here. And then we'll get our lines off. I would recommend taking your lines off before you unbolt the compressor fully, so just be a little bit easier. So one thing I think that may make this a whole lot easier is removing that lower motor mount. So you can see right below the oil filter is a nut. So we're gonna pull that nut off and then go below and put a pole jack underneath and remove the mount out of the way. So I hope you're able to see that nut is now removed, and I'm glad I am taking this off because that nut was not on there tight at all. So the mount I'm talking about is this mount right here. I hope with this subframe being bent the way it is, it doesn't prevent me from removing it, because I think this will make it just a lot easier and quicker. So let's see. So you see we got a pole jack underneath our oil pan. And this is a cast aluminum oil pan, so you must have a block of wood, because if you don't, this pole jack is gonna go right through your oil pan. So let's lift this up some so we can try to get our mount out. So we were able to get our mount loose, but just because this subframe is pushed up so far from this dent, not able to easily slide it out. So what I'm gonna continue is unbolting the compressor, and then we will figure out how to do this. So we were still able to get our compressor out through this opening right here. The only reason why I took that motor mount out is just because this part of the frame here is bent up so much that it prevented me from getting my hand in there to access some of the lines. And you can see, boy, somebody's put our TV does not belong on no type of AC fitting at all. This is just a really hack job here. It's really sad. So we'll clean this up, and you just have to replace the seals. That's all. I mean, you just get new seals. You don't put RTV on AC components. Okay, so what we've got to do is we have to drain the oil out of this compressor and then add that same amount of oil to our new compressor and then bolt it back up. So we got our new compressor mounted. That's all good. We have our engine mount is back on, our engine mount bracket. We did put new seals for our AC lines. And next thing we got to do is just change this belt, put our fender lighter on, and recharge this system. And then also bolt up that top nut for our mount. So our compressor's all mounted. We have our new belt on. See, no cracking there. So now it's just time to put our fender liner back in and let it down, and we'll fill up the AC system. So we've reinstalled and torqued our nut. We got our new oil filter on because we are changing the oil on this thing. And then so now we're about to fill it up full of refrigerant. So our AC machine is telling us it's ready to start up. We've already added oil to it. So we should be able to start up without hearing a loud noise like we were before from that compressor. And she's running. So that should be our AC button. And So unfortunately, our high side fitting is leaking, so we're gonna have to pull this refrigerant back out. Okay, so we're about to start fixing our starter interrupt module here that they have. So we're gonna remove this tape, and I believe this should be a purple wire here. So let's get it done and we'll see. So just as I suspected, they've tapped into our purple wire, and you can see, and they're also pulling power for the module from this red wire, excuse me. Yeah, from this red wire. So what we're gonna do is reconnect these two purple wires and remove this wire from the red wire and hook everything up with the adhesive line heat shrink, and then we will be good to go. So this is how it looks with it removed. These two purple wires, well, this one purple wire that has been cut, it goes directly to your starter solenoid to engage when you turn the key on. And this is just a power wire right there. So this is our module right here. It's like a GPS cutoff. So we got to patch those wires up. So to fix that red wire, we cut it. Then we're going to slide some heat shrink over it. Some adhesive line heat shrink. Pull that all the way down. Then crimp these two wires together. Then pull the heat shrink and melt it together. Okay, so we have made our wiring repair. Excuse me. So we've removed this starter intercept device, and as long as we've done everything correctly, we should just be able to get inside, turn the key, and this thing fire up. And it did. So our no start is officially fixed. The main cause of the no start was this device right here that was interrupting the signal to the starter wire. And then after we were able to get it going, we discovered that we had a bad air conditioning compressor. So all is set there. We want to thank you to everyone for following along with us here at White One Auto. We're going to tape up those wires, put everything back in place, and this thing is fixed. White One Auto out.